The body of the presentation transitions in a written paper. The eye sees how the paper is divided into sections and subsections by the section numbers, titles and subtitles, and the page layout in general. In an oral presentation, you must provide verbal transitions. Guide your audience through your talk by referring to the overview you presented at the beginning. As you go from one section to another, use transitions. Restate or sum up what you've just seen. Announce what you're going to see. Now that we have seen, let's look at some of its effects. Now that we have an idea of the, let's turn our attention to. Before going on to the next part, which deals with, I'd like to stress once again the fact that, to sum up then, we've examined. We've also examined. I'd now like to focus on, in addition to, what other factors contributed to. Before we go on to the next section, let me briefly restate the main reasons why. Remember, for the transitions to do their job efficiently, you must articulate and stress key words. Road signs. When you're giving a talk, some words act just like signs on the road. They tell your audience whether you're continuing in the same direction, changing direction, contrasting two possible directions, or arriving at your destination. Used effectively, road signs make it easier for your audience to follow your development. Once again, you must use your voice to stress the road sign and make it stand out for your listeners. Notice that for an oral presentation, it is easier to use links that allow you to make two short sentences rather than one long, complex sentence. Continuation, change in direction, contrast. Furthermore, however, in contrast, moreover, nevertheless, on the other hand, in addition, although, while, despite, in spite of, whereas. Examples. Backup mechanisms for computers tend to become obsolete rapidly. It's easy to find 3 examples from the past 20 years: floppy disks, diskettes, and zip disks. Furthermore, new software formats do not always recognize older formats. Today, digital cameras are used for more than half of all photographs taken. However, most of those pictures never go any further than the hard drive of a personal computer. Although digital cameras are used for more than half of all photographs taken, most of those pictures. Despite the fact that digital cameras are used for more than half of all photos taken today, most of those pictures. The life of a CD recorded with a CD burner at home could be as little as 5 years. In contrast, some photographic papers can last up to 200 years. While the lifespan of a CD recorded with a CD burner at home could be as little as 5 years, some photographic papers can last up to 200 years. Conclusion. The conclusion signals the end of your presentation. You have already given the audience a clear roadmap of your talk in the introduction and have guided them through your arguments or analysis with transitions. The conclusion is the time to remind them of what they've heard and to make your final point. The conclusion can take several forms. Here are a few examples of how to introduce it. In conclusion, to sum up in brief, to wrap up, all in short, / in a nutshell, to conclude, let me finish by saying / let me finish off by saying, in closing, let me just say, it remains to be said that. Summarizing the main points of your presentation helps to reinforce your ideas, but try to keep the conclusion concise and clear. The audience will expect to hear what the main takeaways are. If you can, make your final point one that they'll remember after the presentation is over. For example, in conclusion, the real challenge for organizations today is not merely responding to business ethics but anticipating future ethical dilemmas that might arise in the workplace. The conclusion is the time to give your audience a final perspective. It should leave them with a clear understanding of the topic and the points you've made, as well as a sense of closure. In the conclusion, you might also provide a call to action, an invitation for further discussion, or even ask your audience a question to provoke thought. Closing statements. After your conclusion, you can end with a closing statement. A closing statement is similar to an open-ended ending, and its purpose is to leave the audience with something to think about or to prompt a discussion. In addition to summarizing your presentation or reminding the audience of key points, closing statements often involve final reflections or challenges. A closing statement can encourage action or highlight a point that needs attention, and might sound like this: I encourage you to think about how. Thank you for your time and attention.